What's up, guys? How we doing today? How's everybody doing? Is everybody excited for New Year's? Is everybody excited for 2020? I don't know about you, but I am. I sure the heck am. We had a great Christmas. This year was good. We were able to accomplish a lot this Christmas. Got to see some fam. Got to spend it with my mom. Got to spend it with my niece, my sister, my daughter. It was a good time. Broke in a new place out in LA. It was good. It was good. I'm excited for what the future holds. Really, there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of opportunity in 2020, and with all of our jobs to capitalize on that. It doesn't matter if you're, making sales. It doesn't matter if you're, playing ball. It doesn't matter if you're going to school. We all have opportunities to do better this year than we did last year. And I think, there's a great chance for us to really succeed in, whatever avenue we choose to pursue. There's a lot of different opportunities people can, utilize, and a lot of different resources out there available for folks. One of the biggest things I like to tell people is, what are you reading and what are you writing? Because, a great man once told me, well, not a great man. I mean, he is a great man, but it wasn't a great man that told me this. Well, it was a great man that said this, but it was just a rap song. It was a Lil Wayne song. It was, repetition is the father of learning. And so, I don't care what excuse you have. I don't care, why you might not be in a certain position that you'd like to be. A lot of people would say, oh, well, such and such is only this way because of XYZ factor, or so and so is the beneficiary of person A's hard merit. And I always like to say, yeah, obviously certain people are gifted and bestowed certain gifts that others aren't, and that's the truth. That's the life. But in the reality of things, everybody has some form of gift. Everybody has some form of blessing, and it's that person's obligation or duty to really discover, find out, and capitalize on whatever it is that they can be successful with. What's going to make me successful and what's going to make you successful are two different things. Two entirely different things. And so my pursuit is going to be based on my ambition to discover that for thyself. During this new year, during this 2020, I don't want to challenge, I don't want to call people out, but I want to say, don't make excuses for yourself this year. Don't say I can't do this because of that. Don't say I can't accomplish this because it's not this way. Say I'd like to do this and form a plan. Form an action plan. Form a routine. Go outside of your comfort zone. Do some things that maybe you haven't done in the past to accomplish these goals that you may set out for yourself in 2020. One of my goals this year in 2020 is, as some of you may know, I play for a semi-professional football team. I play for a semi-pro team. I've been training since August. And, one of my goals this year is to make sure our team is competitive. One of my goals this year is to make sure our team comes to work hard every day. Because at the end of the day, the scoreboard is only a reflection. So many people get caught up with, okay, well, if we only won, 2 games this year, then the season was a failure. That's not necessarily the truth. Because the season results are a manifestation of all the hard work and the commitment and the persistence that you've put in, leading up to that point. So when I make the goal of, okay, we want to have a good season, we want to succeed, we want to, win a lot of games, we want to get a lot of wins, we want to be winning, right? Yeah, of course we do. But how do we do that? We do that by showing up every day and working. We do that by having a good attitude every day. We do that by understanding things aren't always going to go our ways, right? When things don't go our way, how do we respond? That will define us. That won't just define us in football. That won't just define our regular season standings. That will define the men and the people that we become in our communities, in our everyday lives. The fathers we are, the husbands, the boyfriends we are, the brothers, the sisters, the sons we are. Because getting up and getting after it really is all you need to do. Because if you get up and you get after it and you try new things and you evaluate and you record and you monitor and you improvise and you structure out, you schedule out, it's always in process. It's always in movement. I said this in one of my last posts, you're never done working. And that really is the truth. There are things, it's not always what you do, it's what you don't do. It's not always what you are accomplishing as to what you're not omitting yourself to. Get rid of the distractions, man. Because simply by doing that is a win in itself. Simply by saying, I'm not going to do this anymore because I'm noticing that it's hindering my success to the slightest degree. It's a lot of times, in the short term, right? You have all these, you have these things you want to do because they bring you all this short-term satisfaction. You want to hit the club, you want to party, right? And it's okay, whatever. But just understand that there's a consequence for all that. There's a consequence for all of your actions, whether they're good actions, whether they're bad actions. Your results are going to be defined on what you do in the now, in the today, in the next 10 seconds, right? So find out what you want to accomplish first and foremost. Write it down. Set a goal. Set multiple goals, right? And then try new things. That's 2020 resolution. 2020 resolutions are awesome, man. Like a New Year's resolution is awesome. I think it's a fresh start, because it's, what is New Year's? New Year's is a kind of a measurement of time, right? It's, it's like we celebrate this slated holiday season to kind of, revamp, our societies. And, and it's an awesome thing, they give us a day off. They let us refresh. They let us breathe for a second. But take advantage of it. Take the opportunity that this world is providing us and utilize it to the best of your ability. Don't say, oh, well, it's going to be so hard. It's going to be so hard to get to where I want to go because of all these external factors. Yeah, it's going to be hard. And you want to know the truth is the more you accomplish, the harder it's going to be. To be flat out honest with you. They said, what's that song? More money, more problems. That's the truth, man. Like, that's the truth. I remember reading something that they say, like, a person, like on a, they did a test. They did a psychological test. They said that people, from the time a person makes a $30,000 salary to a $50,000 salary to a $75,000 salary, right? To 100, 150, 200, a million, whatever. They say that a person's happiness will increase from the time they go from 30 to 50. They say a person's happiness, on the scale they do the measurement by, will increase from the time they go to 50 to 75, right? But they also said that after a person makes about $75,000 per year, that their happiness no longer improves based on their salary improving. So you can make $150,000 this year and be less happy than you were when you were making 75, or just as happy. So money doesn't necessarily bring happiness. It's nice to have it's nice to be able to accomplish things. It's nice to be able to have a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. But it shouldn't be the money that you're chasing. And I know some people got to do what they got to do, and I commend you. I respect you for that. I would never, discredit a person going out there and trying to hustle for $200,000, $1 million. I would never say, oh, don't do that. But there is a psychological study stating that it doesn't make you any more happy. It doesn't, because with that 100,000, with that 500K, comes a lot of stress. Comes a lot more things to deal with. Comes a lot more much more aggravating nonsense that you have to spend your time dealing with. So, don't get lost in the money. Don't get lost in the dollar figure. Immerse yourself in the process. Immerse yourself into, okay, what am I going to do today that's going to create something exciting, something new, something with value. Think of value as opposed to thinking sum. Value over sum. I heard a saying. One of my ex coworkers. He was a good guy. He was a good gentleman of mine. He was a former track athlete. Him and I are about the same age. This guy was actually a world-class track athlete. He was an amazing athlete. And him and I were going through a sales kind of situation, and he said something like this. He goes, when you consider price and when you consider cost, right? There's a price associated with everything, right? There's a cost associated with everything. But there's also a price and a cost associated with not doing something. And that really sat with me. I'm like, wow, that's a good saying. That's a good saying. Like, if I go out and I spend $100 million, or if I go out and I spend $100 on something, you're like, darn, that's a lot of money, like $100. You're like, dang, I had to fill up my gas tank, $100. It costs too much money, but what happens if you didn't? Like, what happens if you took that $100 and you were like, oh, I can't afford this. I'm not going to do it. I'm just not going to do it. And then it ends up costing you so many thousands of dollars because you didn't do what was necessary to get to where you needed to be. And so it's just that frame of reference, that frame of mind, like, you're going to have to take some chances. You're going to have to take some risks. You're going to have to take some gambles. I always say life is a gamble, it's like honestly it is. Like, honestly, life, like, the successful people, they take risks. And I don't want to say gambling, like, stupidly is smart, because gambling stupid, like gambling, like sports gambling and the casinos, like, that's stupid. But gambling, making educated guesses, taking a lot of your predictive theories and applying it towards an investment, now that is something you're going to have to do. That is something that the only way you're going to ever make it big in this life is if you do that. And oftentimes that as well requires time. That as well requires patience. That as well requires, being on the balls of your feet. It doesn't just happen right away all the time, all right? But during this new year, 2020, I have a lot of excitement for this year. I think this year poses an opportunity for, myself, the people in my network. A lot of these folks that have been there to support me along the way. We're all a team when it comes down to it. We all work interchangeably with one another. What we do, sometimes you can almost feel like your merits or your efforts are going unnoticed, but they're not. If you're giving effort in any capacity, whether it's taking out the trash or, analyzing a book of data, as long as you're saying, I'm pitching in to help out this new year, you will be granted with praise. People will celebrate your hard work. But what won't happen is if you handle your you do your shit, you do your business, you take care of your job, you do what you're supposed to be doing, and then you start feeling sorry for yourself. Like, oh, my life sucks. Oh, my job means nothing. Oh, I'm a failure. And then you begin to hurt yourself because you feel sad about where you're at in life. You feel sad about, what you haven't accomplished or what you're not accomplishing. You have to take everything with a grain of salt because things can change in a hurry. It's all about just shifting your mindset, shifting your focus. But if you're focusing on all the negativity, if you're focusing on, your struggles and your mishaps and your misfortunes, then, 2020 is going to be a bad year for you. Let's just call it that. It's going to be a tough year for you if you just constantly tell yourself, oh, well, it's not good enough. Or, oh, well, this doesn't satisfy me. Well, yeah, guess what? That's going to happen. You're gonna get a new appetite. So I heard Drake say this on one of his podcasts. He says you start developing a new appetite or something like that. Like you're gonna succeed and you're gonna want more success, right? Because money can't buy everything. If you're Bill Gates, there are things Bill Gates can't buy. But what guys like Bill Gates and entrepreneurs like that all have in common is they don't get lost in having things. Those types of investors, entrepreneurs, they lose themselves. They don't lose themselves, but they find themselves focused on what they can improve upon. There's always room for improvement. You could have had the best year in 2019. You could have just smashed it this year. Smashed it. Knocked it out the park. You could have had, a year to remember. If you follow it up this year with hanging your hat on what you did last year, then it's gonna come down to the law of averages. You're gonna say, oh, well, you're gonna look at yourself this time next year and, be like, darn, I'm back at square one. So don't do that. Don't feel sorry for yourself is one of the main things. Don't feel sorry, but have a good attitude. I was telling some people this the other day, or one of my partners, he sent me a podcast of a famous author. In the podcast or the interview, the famous author had mentioned something to the effect of, poverty. People are born into poverty, not because of the dollar amount that they have. People are born into poverty because of the attitudes that get passed down. Because someone with a poor mindset, a poor investment mindset, is going to pass that attitude down to his children. And his children are going to pass that attitude down to their children. Right? So, attitudes really determine where you are going to go. And I've seen it time and time again with people who are doing just fine. They have all the resources, they have all the tools, they are so well off in their own right, but the glass is always half empty with them. They don't find success in anything, even if they're doing fantastic. They're so negative on their life and what they do. And it's a little bit discouraging to see that for people, because that is poison. Because I've heard a good old saying, like, you are who you surround yourself with. Like, I believe in that. Like, the people that you are around and the attitude that they breed and is going to rub off on you. And I know I experienced this in the past where, I was down on myself, so I would just make poor decisions because I was insecure with myself. And, that's something that I never want to really do again. That's something I never want to do again, because what I've kind of picked up on and learned in the last, I want to say 10 years, I've really, since I was 18, 19, 20, I want to say that I've made a lot of strides in, growing up and developing and understanding right from wrong. And I still got a lot more learning to do, a lot more growing up to do, I guess you could say. Without a doubt, I will be learning from every day until the end of my life. I will be learning new things, practicing new things, right? But in the past, I let some of my pain or my suffering or some of my misfortunes, really kind of steer me in the wrong direction. And then I would go, do things or make mistakes that were a rooted cause of my insecurities. So I would go spend time with people who were going to, say, oh, life sucks, and take the easy roads out. I made that mistake. I've made those mistakes. But I want to say that I'm willing to recognize when I've made those mistakes. I'm willing to recognize that there are just certain things that will not allow me to do what I want to do in life. There are certain things that if I participate in will significantly reduce or completely end the opportunities I have in some of my higher callings or in some of my goals and ambitions. So, recognition is the first key, it's the first step. Recognizing your faults or recognizing what you can't do. Because some people don't even know what's right and wrong. I mean, most people know right and wrong from an obvious sense, but it can be illusional. You can not know that something that you're doing is wrong. That can happen, but that's a result of not doing your homework. That's a result of not doing your research. That's a result of paying attention to things that you shouldn't be paying attention to. And it's so easy to get trapped. It's so easy to get trapped with the media and, the access, the internet, right? The internet and the media, those are great tools, though. On the contrary, those are great tools, but they also have a dark side.